three. So next to interpolate is no less than Representative Mark Go.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Sa mga kasama po natin sa CHR, magandang umaga po sa inyo lahat. Meron pong tinatawag nating World Justice Project Rule of Law Index. Ito po ay minimeasure yung rule of law, fundamental rights, civil justice, criminal justice in all the countries of the world. And I got a report na out of 142 countries in 2023, ang Pilipinas ay rank number 100. Tapos yung sa rule of law, sa fundamental rights is 120th. 103 sa civil justice at 120 sa criminal justice. If you summarize all of this, ang average na kinumpute is ang Pilipinas in 2023 in this World Justice Project Rule of Law Index is number 100 tayo out of 142 countries.
Yes.
Ito pong budget ninyo, makakatulong po ba para ma-improve natin yung ating kalagayan dito sa World Justice Project Rule of Law Index?
Go ahead.
Opo. Sapagkat ang mandato po ng Commission on Human Rights ay watchdog, human rights watchdog. So tinitignan ho namin yung compliance ng ating pamahalaan sa kanyang international human rights obligations. Sa pamamagitan ho nito, pinag-aaralan ho namin kung ano ang ginagawa ng ating pamahalaan upang tuparin yung kanyang tungkulin sa mga human rights treaties na ito. At base ho sa aming mga pag-aaral, ay nagre-rekomenda kami ng mga actions. We monitor situations, we recommend actions upang tugunan ho yung mga issues concerning human rights. And by human rights, kasama ho dyan yung justice po. Bukod ho dyan, ay we also perform yung bridging role as a national human rights institution. So as a bridge po of the people, the civil society in general, and the government, kami ho yung nag-uugnay sa ating pamahalaan at sa mga tao, sa mamamayan, upang alamin yung mga issues ng kanilang na-experience ng ating mga kababayan. At kami rin ho yung magpo-propose at magdudugtong sa pamahalaan upang tugunan ito. Ang example ho nito, yung mga issue ng freedom of association ng ating mga kababayang manggagawa. Magkaroon ng issue, recommendation ang International Labor Organization upang tugunan yung freedom of association ng mga manggagawa. At dahil dito, ang ginawa ho ng Commission on Human Rights ay nagsagawa ho kami ng Memorandum of Agreement with the Department of Labor and Employment upang i-address yung issues ng mga manggagawa tungkol sa freedom of association. So ganun ho yung isa sa mga mandato namin. And with the additional budget, of course po, makakatulong dahil kami ho yung nagiging tulay ng ating pamahalaan sa ating mamamayan.
Gusto ko pong bigyan ng konting explanation to, no? Yung nakita ko rito in this Rule of Law Index, ang matataas ang kanilang ranko ay yung mga developed countries. Kamukha yung number 1 dito, ang Denmark, pangalawang Norway, pangatlo ang Finland, pangapat ang Sweden, panglima ang Germany. Ito yung mga industrialized countries. At tinignan ko rin, ano ba yung malalapit sa Pilipinas na ang ranking ay number 100. Ang 99 is Paraguay, no? Ang 98 is Tanzania, of course China 97. At ang Ecuador is 96. Ito yung mga, if you look at it, generally we can conclude that there is a correlation between the economy at saka yung performance natin in terms of the rule of law index, no? Mataas ang performance ng bansa kung ang ekonomiya ng bansa ay maganda, no? Developed countries kumbaga. meron ba tayong mga pag-aaral dito sa ating bansa na kung paano natin ma-address itong ganitong sitwasyon in terms of ensuring that we protect the human rights of our people as an indicator of, or the rule of law as an indicator of obtaining the highest ranking in terms of human rights performance ng ating departamento.
Ang kailangan ho natin na siguro ang importante nating pagbasihan yung pong mga international human rights mechanisms. For a regular period po, dumadaan ho ang lahat ng bansa sa periodic review kung saan ang mga ating peer countries ay nire-review yung human rights compliance ng bawat bansa. At base ho dito sa mga review na ito, at nire-rekomenda ng ating mga kapwa bansa yung kung ano yung dapat gawin ng bansa upang tugunan yung human rights issues ng bansang iyan. So kung titingnan ho natin na mapapansin ho, kung pag-aaralan natin yung mga issues na nare-raise, konektado po sa sitwasyon ng pamumuhay ng isang tao sa isang bansa. So tama po kayo, kapag mahirap, may mga marami hong issues na lumalabas sapagkat ang human rights po hindi lang naman possible political. We also talk of economic, social, cultural rights. And by economic, social, cultural rights, ito po yung mga basic public services na binibigay sana ng ating pamahalaan sa ating mga kababayan. And ito rin ho yung tutugon sa Sustainable Development Goals na ating pinangako sa UN. So, konektado po siya. At kung titignan nyo, marami hong issues ang konektado sa poverty.
Kaya ko po naitanong yan kasi nakita ko na ang effort natin should also be in terms of yung preventive tayo, proactive measures. Dito po sa inyong proposal na budget, meron po ba tayong proactive measures that we would like to take to ensure that violations will not be, will not occur among our, especially from those with authority. Meron po ba tayo? Magkano po yung budget natin para doon?
Actually, marami ho kaming mga nakaplanong activities, ongoing and nakaplanong activities, preventive ang in nature po. Isa ho dyan yung human rights promotions. Mahalaga ho kasi na sa ating pagtupad sa karapatang pantao, sa ating tungkulin sa karapatang pantao, mas malawak na pag-unawa, hindi lang ho nating nasa pamahalaan, kundi pati ng mga taong nasa laylayan ng lipunan. Isa ho sa ginagawa ng Commission on Human Rights sa ngayon is we intensify human rights promotion. By human rights promotion po, ang ibig ho namin sabihin, we conduct trainings, education, caravans, capacity building. Isa ho sa mga ginagawa namin ngayon is yung regional human rights caravan namin, o kung saan ay kipag-ugnayan po ang Commission on Human Rights sa lahat ng stakeholders. Ito ho yung local government units, ating security sector in different regions, civil society organizations, educational institutions, and media. So, by this, ito ho yung tinatawag namin lakaran, yung lakbay karapatan tungo sa kamalayan. We reach out to different sectors of the society in different regions of the Philippines. Sa ngayon po, halos naikot na namin yung meron na lang 3 regions na natitira na kailangan namin puntahan. Active ho yung engagement namin sa different sectors. Ilan ho sa mga gagawa namin dito sa ating aktibidad na ito, yun pong engagement with the local government units, emphasizing on the human rights aspect of local legislations. We popularize kung ano ho yung mga ordinansa na mahalagang maipasa ng mga local government units. Encourage din po namin ang mga local government units to activate or reactivate yung human rights action centers ng bawat barangays. Nakikipag-partner po kami sa higher educational institutions upang maging katuwang namin sa human rights promotions, education. So, isa lang ho ito sa mga ginagawa namin, and we intend to do more dahil in fact, isinama ho namin yung UNJP program, UN Joint Program on Human Rights, kung saan nagtapos po ito noong July. At bilang National Human Rights Institution, in-identify ho namin kung ano yung mga gawain ng UNJP na po pwede namin ituloy. At isa ho ito sa mga trust ng Commission moving forward.
Madam Chair, doon po sa inyong pagpapaliwanag tungkol sa human rights, kasama rin po ba rito yung responsibilidad ng bawat isa para maibigay natin ang tamang hustisya sa ating mga kababayan? Kasi po, meron tayong human rights, kailangan meron ding human responsibilities. Kaakibat nito para ang responsibilidad hindi lamang doon sa mga nagdidetermine kung meron ngang human rights violation, pati na yung mga taong nababiolate yung kanilang human rights. Kung minsan, kagaya po ng mga naabuso mga tao, kung minsan meron di silang parte, kumbaga. Kailangan malaman nila yung kanilang responsibilidad at yung kanilang karapatan para hindi na mangyari yung ganon.
Opo, tama po kayo. Ang pagtupad ho sa tungkulin sa karapatang pantao, primarily lodged in the government, the state po.
Yes.
Ang tungkulin po ay nasa Estado. Bagamat nasa Estado ho, tungkulin din ng bawat isa sa atin na ipatupad, palawakin, palawigin ang konsepto ng karapatang pantao. Tulong-tulong po itong ang pagtupad ho ay hindi lamang sa isang tao, kundi dapat pagtulungan ng lahat, ng all sectors, all stakeholders.
Meron po akong data rito tungkol po sa mga violations ng civil and political rights by region. To date po, ano po ba ang pinakamataas ang violations na region? Nandito po kasi may NCR, CAR, Regions 1, 2, 3, etc. Ano po? Sa ngayon po, in 2024, year to date, ano po ba ang pinakamataas ang violations ng human rights?
Sa region, by
Opo,
locality
at ano
po.
po yung mga specific
Cases.
Oo.
Ang cases po na common sa ngayon po is enforced disappearance, extrajudicial killings, threats, harassment, red tagging, violation against women, gender-based violence po, violation of child rights. Ilan po yun sa mga, may mga ilan pang mga kaso, pero yun po yung mga karamihan.
Pinakamarami. Ano po yung relationship nyo sa Justice Department dito po sa mga complaints na naifa-file sa inyo? Meron po ba kayong working relationship with them to ensure that, kasi meron kayong nag-complain sa human rights tapos pupunta rin sa Department of Justice. Ano po ba yung mga delineation? O do you dichotomize yung mga complaints so that this will be for the Department of Justice o kaya sa police o kaya sa human rights? Meron po ba kayong ganong arrangement to ensure that whatever is brought to you as a complaint will be addressed or to them? Yung po
Meron po. Ang number one po sa mandate po kasi ng Commission on Human Rights is to investigate human rights violation involving civil and political rights. After investigation po, wala na nakasaad sa ating saligang batas. Ang importante ho nating maintindihan dito ay ang accountability mechanism for human rights violation is for filing of criminal case against the offender. So sa mga ganun pong incidents or mga kaso, nire-refer po namin yan sa appropriate prosecutorial or investigative agencies of the government. Isa ho dyan yung DOJ, isa ho dyan yung Office of the Ombudsman. Kasama rin ho dyan yung administrative liability ng tao, kung mayroon. So, nire-refer din po natin yan sa Civil Service Commission. Sa ngayon po, meron hong existing memorandum of agreement ang Commission on Human Rights with Office of the Ombudsman. Sa DOJ po, meron hong tinatag na Administrative Order Number 35. It is an interagency body tasked to investigate cases involving extrajudicial killings, disappearances, etc., or grave human rights violations. Kasama ho ang komisyon dyan bilang observer. Sa mga violation po ng labor cases, we'll also investigate cases of violation of the laborers. Kasama rin ho kami sa interagency body as observer under EO 23. Ano pa? So yun pa. At bukod ho dyan, meron din ho kaming agreement with the Armed Forces of the Philippines for data sharing agreement. And may mga ugnayan ho kami regarding referral of cases, specifically on violation of international humanitarian law.
Okay, Madam Chair, last one na lang. I would like to manifest my support to the budget of the Commission on Human Rights, Madam Chair. And at the appropriate time, we will make the manifestation. And if we can get, the additional funding that they need so that they can really perform their function. And at the same time, I would like to suggest that we focus also strongly on the preventive side of ensuring the protection of the human rights of our people, Madam Chair and Mr. Chairman of the Commission. Maraming po salamat at magandang hapon po. Ang umaga sa inyo lahat.
Thank you very much, Rep. Go, and thank you very much for your manifestation of support. So the next to interpellate is our Deputy Minority Leader, Franz Castro.
Thank
Good morning
you,
po.
Madam Chair. Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat, lalong-lalo na po sa ating mga resource person coming from the Commission on Human Rights sa pamumuno po ni Sir Palpalatok. Well, so syempre, nagbibigay din po ako ng pagpupugay sa CHR dahil despite of the meager budget, Madam Chair, ay sinisikap talaga nila na matugunan yung mga problema on human rights. Okay, so saksi din po ako doon sa mga mabilis na pag-action nila doon sa mga idinudulog po natin. Lalong-lalo na example po yung mga profiling ng mga teachers natin dati sa Alliance of Concerned Teachers. Okay? So yung unang topic ko po, Madam Chair, ay yung tungkol sa red tagging. I know kaisa po natin ang CHR doon sa against dito sa mga red tagging based doon sa mga nababasa ko po na mga statement nila. Okay? At ito po, sinabi na po ng Supreme Court, dineclare niya yung red tagging as vilification, labeling, and guilt by association threaten a person's right to life, liberty, or security. No, so yung labeling a person red often comes with frequent surveillance, direct harassment, and in some instances, eventual death. So yun po yung nagiging epekto ng red tagging, Madam Chair. So sinabi ko kanina nakaisa naman ang CHR do sa position ng Supreme Court. Tama po ba ako?
Tama po.
Yes, at naniniwala din ba ang CHR na ang red tagging is a dangerous and all government officials and agencies should stop such act?
Tama po.
Well, nakakalungkot, Madam Chair, kasi itong red tagging na ito, hindi lang ito ginagawa ng mga vigilante or mga individual, maging mga state agents. Babanggitin ko na yung NTF-ELCAC, some military forces, mga PNP, etc. And even noong panahon ni President Duterte, rampant talaga yung mga kahit na mga officials ay nire-red tag. Lalong-lalo na yung mga organization, like yung organisasyon ng mga teachers, organisasyon ng mga government employees, ay talagang rampant yung red tagging. Okay? So, ayun po, no? Ano po, pwede bang malaman, Madam Chair, ano po yung mga concrete na mga ginagawa po ng ating komisyon concerning red tagging na mga incidents? Ano ba yung mga programa na matulungan itong mga red tag, no? Kung mapipigilan ang red tagging sa bansa. So ano-ano po ba yung mga measures, serbisyo, tulong na pwedeng maibigay po ng CHR?
Maraming salamat po. Una sa mga kaso na na-file or iniimbestigahan ng Commission on Human Rights concerning red tagging, iniimbestigahan po yan, tuloy-tuloy po yan, and ang isa sa pinaka-importanting ginagawa ngayon ng komisyon ay nagsasagawa ho kami ng national inquiry on the situation of human rights defenders focused on red tagging. Nagsimula na ho kami noong July at patuloy ho yung aming national inquiry dito. Ang layunin po niyan ay siyempre mahinto ang red tagging kung meron. At pangalawa, magkaroon tayo ng konkretong definisyon ng kung ano ba ang red tagging o kung tama ba na red tagging ang term na dapat gamitin. At pangatlo, isa sa layunin nito ay makapagrekomenda ng angkop na batas or measure o kung anumang alituntunin upang matugunan ang problema ng red tagging. Bukod ho dyan, ang ginagawa ho ng komisyon ay meron ho kasi kaming modest witness protection program sa komisyon. So kung meron hong pangangailangan ng security, pwede ho kaming magbigay niyan. Pero sa ngayon, I think wala ho kaming ganito ngayong kaso. And also, kung meron hong risk, yun po, kung may risk, witness protection, and also kung kailangan ho ng support, we also provide legal aid to victims. And also we collaborate with local and international human rights organizations para madokumento ho at maipatupad yung accountability ng mga nag-violate.
So, thank you, Madam Chair. So, I understand wala pa rin naman po tayong batas, no? Para talagang ma-put into accountability itong mga nagre-red tag. Lalong-lalo na yung mga government officials, mga agencies, at iba pa. Ito, ma-example ako, Madam Chair, no? Ngayon lang ito, August. So, yung provincial LCAC along with, ito sa Laguna po, Mr. Chair, Madam Chair, 2nd Infantry Division of the Philippine Army push ito yung nagkaroon po ng pati ang Department of Education, Commission on Human Rights, TESDA, to conduct seminars in school under the guise of the national security. No, kabilang po dito yung Laguna Provincial Peace and Order Council. So kasama ang DepEd, CHED, tsaka TESDA. So ginagamit talaga lahat ng mga agency nitong mga militar. Ang supposed to be seminars ay hindi siya different from ones conducted in the different barangays. So dito po, Madam Chair, sinasabi, kunwari, peace and order, pero dinidescribe po dito ang lahat ng mga legitimate na mga people's organization as mga terrorists. Kabilang na nga dyan yung Gabriela, ang Kilusang Mayo 1, at iba pa, at nire-relate ito, nililink doon sa Communist Party of the Philippines. So with this, Madam Chair, nangyayari itong na mga ganitong mga seminars, na mga red tagging. So syempre ang mga tao na nakakadinig nito, kahit ang mga estudyante o mga kabataan nakakarinig nito, so magkakaroon tuloy ng magiging problema doon sa pagtingin dito sa mga legitimate na mga organizations na ito. So nakarating ba ito, Madam Chair, sa ating Commission on Human Rights?
Go ahead, Chairperson.
Hindi pa ako familiar, but we are verifying kung ito karating na sa ating regional office. At meron po i-imbestigahan namin, and we will do appropriate measures and actions po.
Yes. So, hindi po, dampan po ito, na nangyayari, na nagtatago sa peace and order na mga, mga seminars, pero ang ginagawa ay talagang vilifying, at linking, yung mga people's organization sa terrorism. Okay? So, siguro, ibigay na lang namin yung mga actual na mga incidents, may mga nangyari din kasi. And even Madam Chair, yung mga union members dito sa officers ng PhilFoods, Fresh Baked Products, Fuji Electric Philippines, HKR Philippines, Gardenia, dito sa Laguna po ay nakakaranas din po ng red tagging. Kasi very dangerous ito, Ipaglaban mo lang yung iyong karapatan para sa sweldo, para sa karapatan ng pag-uunyon, or yung mga karapatan na dapat na nakukuha ng ating mga manggagawa, ay nire-red tag ka na, So, very dangerous itong mga nangyayaring ito. Na-experience nga namin, Madam Chair, kahit kami sa Alliance of Concerned Teachers, yung aming union, na sinasabi ay yung paghingi ng pagtaas ng sweldo ay parang nire-red tag na rin. Kasi sinasabing, ayan, yung mga organisasyon na yan na humihingi ng mga pagtaas ng sweldo, mga komunista yan. So talagang, talagang ang concept talaga ng red tagging ay talagang nakakapahamak. Kaya Madam Chair, sana may magawang bukod sa binanggit ni Chair tungkol doon sa mga ginagawa nila konkreto, ay sana ay ano pa ba yung pwede? Kasi ito mga government agency ito, mga militar ang nire-red tag,
Kindly wind up.
So kaya sana po ay maimbestigahan, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Maraming salamat po. Makikipag-ugnayan po yung aming advisory council nung National Inquiry on red tagging para alamin po at makuha yung detalye ng mga binanggit niyo pong mga insidente.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm manifesting for second round.
Yes, we will take note of that. And the next interpellator is Representative Khalid Dimaporo, my good neighbor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My first question is especially because I'm a third-termer congressman, and I was here in the two previous Congresses. And from what I remember, the CHR had to suffer political setbacks in the previous administration. So in regards to the budget, since there's so far in the previous interpellators moves to support and to increase the budget of the CHR, I'd like to ask the question. Because from what I remember, we decreased your budget around 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, yeah. But before, the previous administration, what was the original budget of the CHR? Because it should not be only increase the CHR's budget. It should be restore the CHR's budget prior to this political backlash against the CHR in the previous administration.
So, ito yung budget. Nung 2019 po, we were provided 829 million. Noong 2020, 928 million. 2021, 925, a slight decrease. In 2022, 964 increase. And in 2023, 1 billion and 2 million. And in 2024, 981. So there's a decrease for this year, the current year. Meron hong mga congressional insertions na ibinigay sa amin to augment our budget. But as we can see, over the years from 2019 to 2023, there is a consistent gradual increase. But there was a decrease for this year, 2024.
Madam Chair, I would like to ask the Commission on Human Rights if they have on them the amount allocated to them 2015 and 2016.
We don't have it right now, Your Honor.
Just like them to request that when they do find it, send the copy to the committee secretariat so that this committee can study whether or not the amount allocated, which is 980 plus million, is fair. It will help us give some sort of bearings in terms of the Commission on Human Rights. Secondly, Madam Chair, I'd like to ask the Commission on Human Rights if they have field offices and what are the budget allocated for these field offices per region.
We have 16 regional offices spread all throughout the Philippines, Your Honor. Budgetary allocation.
Madam Chair, so that we can expedite the discussion, I will suffice that it can be submitted to the committee secretariat. But I would like to bring my interpellation to the point, which is the budget for the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. How much is allocated by the CHR?
Yeah. For the BARM region, Your Honor, we do not have specific regional office stationed in the BARM area, but we have 4 regional offices catering to the entire BARM. So we distributed, we divided the BARM area among the 4 regional offices of the Commission on Human Rights. The reason for this is that BARM has its own Bangsamoro Human Rights Commission, which is the one looking into performing the functions of the human rights within the BARM area, within the region. But as the Commission on Human Rights, as the National Human Rights Institution, we ensure that we still cover the BARM area by designating the 4 regional offices to cover this region.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to know if the Commission on Human Rights is in good coordination with the Bangsamoro Human Rights Commission, especially in regards to the budgetary allocation to them from the block grant.
We have a good relationship with the Bangsamoro Human Rights Commission, Your Honor. In fact, we have a memorandum of agreement with them on promotion services. So we capacitate them on in the performance of their human rights promotion services. There was a discussion, there's an ongoing discussion on memorandum of agreement for Human Rights Protection Service, but it has taken its toll. Hindi pa ho kami nakapag-finalize ng MOA. With regard to the budget, wala ho kaming discussion on the budget of the Bangsamoro and the budget of the Commission on Human Rights.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate it's really a breath of fresh air that you have not abandoned the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. We get that a lot from national line agencies dahil may block grant, dahil by BOL, bahala na sila sa buhay nila. But in the case of the Commission on Human Rights, you're still there like their big brother, their kuya, no, to make sure that human rights, the mandate of human rights will be implemented within the autonomous region. Now, I'd like to bring into my next line of question, Madam Chair. This is the Marawi siege, because that is actually the problem that we had. Were there any findings of human rights violation when it comes to the Marawi siege?
There is, Your Honor. There was a report prepared by the Commission, in fact, and financial assistance were given to victims of human rights violations. And we continuously monitor the situation in Marawi to monitor the IDPs as a result of the siege IDPs, meaning the internally displaced persons, Your Honor. The condition of their living condition. And we also have recommendations to address the situations of the IDPs in Marawi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'd like to request again from the Commission on Human Rights if we can have a copy of that document submitted to the committee secretariat. Next, I'd like to ask Madam Chair, because one of the accomplishments of this Congress, previous Congresses as well, was the creation of the Marawi Compensation Board. Is the Marawi Compensation Board also being monitored or in good coordination with the Commission on Human Rights?
Yes, Your Honor, and the board is communicating with the Commission on Human Rights with regard to the compensation.
Madam Chair, when the Marawi Compensation Board was being pushed here in the lower house, actually I was the one that was tasked to shepherd it out of the committee and ultimately to third reading in the plenary. So I do have vested interest in this, not only because my family is originally from the Lanao del Sur area, but also I know that it was patterned after the Human Rights Violations Victims Claim Board, which is under RA 10368. So now when it comes to disbursement of compensation, I'd like to know the performance of the Human Rights Victims Claim Board so we can gauge it against the Marawi Compensation Board. Because that's a problem now. Sinasabi nila masyadong matagal, masyadong matagal, masyadong matagal. But from what I remember, it was painstakingly slow when it comes to the implementation of RA 10368.
May I request our Executive Director to answer the question, Your Honor?
Yes,
You're
Your
recognized,
Thank you, Your
Executive
Honor.
Director Jacqueline.
Yes, Your Honor, we do confirm that at the time that HRVCB was still active, it was slow in terms of the release of compensation, and that is the reason why the Congress issued a joint resolution subsequently designating the CHR to distribute the remaining money that was left undistributed by HRVCB. At the time that the CHR assumed the responsibility of the HRVCB under the joint resolution, we were able to at least provide a majority of the compensation to the recipients, and our success rate was at least more than 90% at that time, Your Honor. Thank you.
How long did this take from the creation of the law till you've succeeded in dispersing 90%? How many years?
Your Honor, if my recollection is accurate, HRVCB had a lifetime of about more than 5 years, I think. And then when the CHR assumed under the joint resolution, we had a little over a year to distribute the remaining compensation then.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So that's roughly 6 years. I bring this up now just to make my point in form of manifestation so I can close. Unfortunately for us here in the Congress, members of the majority cannot question in the plenary. So I have to bring this up here. Our issue with the Marawi Compensation Board, one, is the budget they requested. They requested for 60 billion. Okay? Then after that, they made an assessment, baka 30 billion ang kailangan. What they actually got was only 1 billion last year and 1 billion this year. The first question I asked DBM was what the utilization rate was. For 2024, 0%. For 2023, it's very small also. But when I talked to the members of the Marawi Compensation Board, what they said is, we actually adjudicated already. And we've sent it to DBM last year's 2023. So that 1 billion pesos that was adjudicated, only 300 million was given to the victims. Yung 600 million, pending pa yan sa DBM. And unfortunately, I don't have the privilege of asking that again. So I'd like to appeal, since the Commission on Human Rights is acting like a big brother, when it comes to the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region, to help also monitor the compensation being released to the Marawi victims. Because, again, we don't want this to happen again, that the release of compensation will be very slow. And lastly, and more importantly, this implementation of this Republic Act, the Marawi Compensation Board, is actually an accomplishment in terms of human rights under the Bongbong Marcos administration. So I hope we can get the support of the Commission on Human Rights on this. Thank you, Madam Chair, for giving me time to state my concerns.
Thank you, Your
Yes.
Honor, and we commit to help and render our assistance in the monitoring of the compensation, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, and I do appreciate also, because I know it's not, a question about DBM releasing all these funds. It's really a challenge, no? I guess for all the departments, for all agencies. And it's also good to know that CHR, no? For the first time, kinakabahan ako nito, yung neighbor ko, kasi pag nagtatanong talaga, very passionate. So for this time, CHR is really true to its mandate na CHR para sa lahat, di ba? Naglilingkod maging sino ka man. So next to interpolate is our Minority Representative Raul Manuel.
Good morning, Madam Chair, pati rin po sa mga officials ng Commission on Human Rights. Bilang youth representative, gusto po naming i-recognize ang pagiging bukas ng CHR sa iba't ibang forms po ng support sa ating mga different stakeholders, whether individuals man or organizations na nagsusulong din ng karapatan ng iba't ibang mga sektor dito sa ating bansa. We also recognize the efforts of the CHR National Office to respond kapag meron pong mga dinudulog sa kanila. Madam Chair, ang una ko pong tanong would be about our regional offices. Kasi while nandyan po ang leadership ng National Office, on the part of the regional offices ay nakita po natin ay merong varying degrees or merong range nung halimbawa bilis ng pagtugon or ano din yung tipo ng tugon na bibigay doon sa ating mga aggrieved na mga sectors. So would like to know, Madam Chair, kung ano po ba so far ang capacity ng ating mga regional offices? Ano din po ba yung range ng terms of number of personnel? Gusto din po nating malaman para makita ano yung mga nararapat na aksyon mula sa committee natin at mula sa Kamara.
Maraming salamat po. Yung sa number of personnel po ng ating mga regional offices, it ranges from 25 to 30 personnel, catering to a region. Yun pong sa bilis ng serbisyo ng regional office, ang gusto ko sanang i-emphasize is that the Commission on Human Rights recently amended its rules of procedures. Pinaiksi ho namin yung period of investigation ng isang kaso from 160 days to from 1 year to 160 days po. So significant po yung reduction ng days of investigation. Pagkatapos ho ng period na yan, or within that period, kailangan ng regional office ay isubmit ang kanilang recommendation sa commission upang aksyonan naman yung kanilang mga rekomendasyon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, ano ang mga mekanismo para matiyak na yung services ng CHR ay nakakarating din talaga lalo sa ating mga far-flung areas? Maliban po ba sa mga regional offices, are there sub-regional or provincial or lower levels of administration in terms of the services of the CHR?
Opo. May mga ilan ho kaming sub-offices sa ilang mga probinsya. Although maliit lang ho na bilang 'yon. Ang importante ho sana, ang isa sa mga pinaka recent na ginawa ho namin to reach out to a broader stakeholder, Yun pong mismo, yung Management Information System Monitoring Outlet. Isa po itong web-based system. It's an online complaint intake platform kung saan po ang ating mga kababayan ay pwede na sampa ng reklamo, humingi ng assistance o kung anumang serbisyo sa komisyon sa pamamagitan lamang po ng online. So, bukod ho doon sa pagpunta ng isang tao upang sa aming tanggapan mismo, upang magsampa ng reklamo, humingi ng kanilang request, kung ano man, assistance, legal assistance, or trainings, pwede na pong magawa ito sa pamamagitan ng online, pong mismo. Isa ho ito sa mga proyektong ginagawa ng komisyon. We are intensifying our digitalization effort to cover all the services, core services of the commission.
Madam Chair, ano din ang mga current or yung mga binabalak pong gawin ng CHR in terms of yung pagpapataas po ng capacity na ating mga regional and sub-regional offices to cater dun sa mga nangangailangan?
Trainings, capacity building po, as mentioned do sa digitalization efforts, and sana po yung charter na CHR charter po para mas lumawak ang mandato ng komisyon at mas lumaki din yung organization upang tumugon sa mga pangangailangan ng ating mga kababayan. Dito ho sa charter na proposed is bukod sa region, magkakaroon ho sana ng provincial presence ang komisyon upang mas mapalapit sa tao at mas madaling makatugon sa mga insidente.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. On a different topic naman po, regarding the so many thousands of victims of the fake war on drugs, lumilitaw po sa mga hearing ngayon ng Kamara na hindi na lang anti-poor, hindi lang madugo, pero peke po pala talaga itong war on drugs, given na naging parang cover lang siya doon sa mga nagko-compete sa illegal drug trade. Madam Chair, ang tanong ko po, given na nung martial law, di ba marami ding mga naging biktima, martial law ni former president and dictator Ferdinand Marcos Sr. Tapos nung nakuha po yung mga portion ng nakaw na yaman ay yan po ang source ng compensation para dun sa mga victims.